Every cold case has the same starting point. A body, a handful of witnesses who disagree with each other, and a killer nobody can quite name with certainty. This one just happens to be 550 years old. Last episode, this channel covered how Vlad the Impaler died, sometime in December 1476 or January 1477, along a stretch of road between Bucharest and Giurgiu. His small remaining force overwhelmed after his allies had already gone home. What this channel didn't do, because the honest answer requires more room than a single closing section, is actually investigate it properly. Who was actually responsible? Open battle? A disguised ambush? Or someone standing much closer to him than any enemy soldier? Historians have never fully agreed, not in the 15th century and not now. So this episode is going to do something a little different. Same channel, same commitment to the documented history, but this time we're treating it like an actual cold case. Evidence first, then 3 suspects examined one at a time on their own merits. No dramatic reveal at the end, just an honest look at what the historical record can and can't tell us about the last minutes of one of history's most infamous rulers. Let's start with the facts that aren't seriously disputed, because there aren't many of them, and it's important to be precise about where solid ground actually ends. By November 1476, Vlad had reclaimed Walachia's throne for a 3rd time, with military backing from Hungary and from his cousin Ștefan cel Mare, Stephen the Great of Moldavia, a story this channel has already covered in full. Within weeks, the Allied forces that had made that victory possible withdrew, as Allied forces in this era typically did. Vlad was left holding a reclaimed throne with a domestic support base that had had almost no time to rebuild. The rival he'd displaced, Basarab Laiota, hadn't been eliminated, simply pushed back, likely toward Ottoman territory, to regroup. Sometime in that narrow window, historians place it in December 1476 or January 1477, the exact date lost, Vlad was killed. Near a stretch of road connecting Bucharest and the town of Giurgiu, close to the Danube. His head was removed from his body and sent to Constantinople, presented to Sultan Mehmed II as proof his most persistent regional enemy was finally gone. That detail this channel already covered directly. It's one of the better corroborated facts in this entire case. That's it. That's the crime scene. A location, roughly a season, and a missing head as physical proof of the outcome. Everything else, who was actually there, who struck the decisive blow, whether this was combat, ambush, or betrayal, depends entirely on which chronicle you trust and how much you're willing to read between its lines. Let's meet the suspects.
The most widely cited version of events is also the simplest,
which is usually a point in its favor for historians weighing competing theories. In this version, Basarab Laiota's regrouped forces, very likely reinforced, or at least emboldened by renewed Ottoman support, moved back into Wallachia while Vlad's position was still fragile from the departure of his allies. Vlad, with whatever remaining loyal troops he could gather, met them in the field. Multiple accounts describe a conventional engagement, not a surprise attack. Vlad's diminished force simply outnumbered and overwhelmed by an enemy that had had time to prepare and reinforce. The case for this theory is genuinely strong. It requires no hidden conspiracy, no infiltrators, no shadowy betrayal, just the straightforward, well-documented military reality this channel has already covered repeatedly. Vlad's alliances gave him thrones, and the withdrawal of those same alliances routinely cost him those thrones again. This wouldn't even be the first time. It's almost exactly what happened after his 60-day reign in 1448, and again after the 1462 campaign, this channel's first episode already told in full. The weakness in this theory isn't that it's implausible, it's that some of the surviving details around his death read as stranger than a simple battlefield defeat usually produces. Which is where the second suspect comes in. Here's where this case gets genuinely unsettling and more than a little ironic. A second account, taken seriously enough by multiple historians to not be dismissed as legend, suggests Vlad wasn't killed in a clearly identified battle at all, but in a chaotic ambush, with some sources specifically raising the possibility that Ottoman soldiers disguised themselves, possibly in Wallachian dress, to get close enough to strike before anyone around Vlad fully understood what was happening. If that's true, there's a bitter symmetry to it that's hard to ignore. This channel's very first episode told the story of Vlad's own most audacious tactic, disguising his cavalry to infiltrate the Ottoman camp at night in 1462, hoping to kill Sultan Mehmed in his own tent. If the disguised ambush theory is accurate, Vlad may have died 14 years later to almost the exact tactic he'd once used himself, just aimed back at him. The evidence for this theory rests heavily on the confused, contradictory nature of surviving accounts about the battle itself. Several chronicles describe unusual disorder in the fighting, more consistent with an infiltration or ambush than a straightforward field engagement. But confusion in 15th century battle reporting isn't unusual on its own. Soldiers, then as now, rarely have a clear, unified account of chaotic combat, disguised enemy or not. It's a compelling theory. It's also one historians can't fully separate from the simple fog of war. Which leaves the third suspect, the one that doesn't require a single enemy soldier at all.
If you followed this channel from the beginning, this suspect should feel uncomfortably familiar. This channel has already told you in detail what happened the last time Vlad's own boyars decided loyalty wasn't worth the risk. The coup that killed his father and buried his older brother alive in 1447. It's also already told you what Vlad did about it a decade later, at an Easter feast that ended in mass execution and forced labor at Ponari. The boyars who survived that reckoning, and their descendants, had every reason imaginable to remember exactly what loyalty to Vlad had cost the families who'd once opposed him, and exactly what disloyalty had once cost too. The third theory holds that as Vlad's position weakened in late 1476, his foreign allies gone, his enemy regrouping, his personal guard thinner than it had been in years, some of his remaining boyars made the same calculation their predecessors had made in 1447. That survival meant switching sides again, at exactly the moment it would hurt him most. Some accounts suggest this betrayal may have taken the form of simply failing to reinforce him in time. Others suggest something more active, deliberately exposing his position or withdrawing support at the precise moment of the final engagement. We don't have a name. No chronicle points to a specific boyar and says, clearly, this one. What we have is a pattern, one this channel has now documented across nearly Vlad's entire life. Boyars who backed his father's murder, boyars who fled to Ottoman-friendly Saxon towns, boyars who paid for both in a forest of stakes and a decade of forced labor. And now, possibly, boyars who saw one more opportunity to be on the winning side of history one final time. Of the three suspects, this is the one that requires the least imagination, and arguably fits the pattern of his entire life the most disturbingly well. So here's the honest verdict, and it's not a satisfying one. We cannot tell you, with real historical confidence, whether Vlad the Impaler died in open battle, in a disguised ambush that echoed his own most famous tactic, or through betrayal from the same class of nobles who'd already turned on his family once before. All three theories have real historical arguments behind them. None has definitive proof. 550 years later, this cold case is still exactly that, cold. But maybe the uncertainty itself tells you something true about the man, even without a verdict. A life defined, from his teenage years as a hostage, through a 60-day reign, a decade of imprisonment, a manufactured monster reputation, and a final borrowed throne. By exactly this kind of unresolved tension between enemies who might kill you openly and allies who might not be allies at all. It would almost be strange if his death were simple, when nothing else about his life ever was. Every week, this channel goes back into the true history behind the legend the world calls Dracula. The forest that made an empire retreat, the grave still debated centuries later, the feast that became a reckoning, the ally who manufactured a monster, the raid that gave that monster its face, the river that may have taken someone he couldn't save, the exile years with the cousin who walked into a different legacy, the final war that same cousin helped him fight, and now, the cold case that even 5 centuries of historians haven't been able to close. Subscribe if an unsolved mystery is a satisfying enough ending for you, because in this case, it's the only honest one available. We'll see you in the next Chronicle.